Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we are just going to be taking a look at the markets. Bitcoin is around 37K for the cryptoverse. So we'll see what's going on in the markets here. Let me just give me a few minutes to post this in a couple different places, and then we will jump in. Okay, so here we are. So Bitcoin is back to 37K. Now we've talked about some of these, these scenarios where it bounces back after a drop like this. And that's what actually, if we zoom back out, well, I guess it happened more in the daily time frame, but if you go back to 2017, so this is the daily time frame in 2017. Okay, so we're going to try to dissect this. So we had a peak. And by the way, we're not saying that we're at the peak of this market cycle, right? We're not saying that. It's possible we're here or here or somewhere like this, right? We're not saying we're necessarily at the peak of the market cycle. In fact, I would be shocked if this in fact were the entire peak of the market cycle. But regardless, the point is to say that Bitcoin had this major move up here. It came down, and then it was during this rally back up, those first couple weeks of January, or first week or two of January when Bitcoin was doing this, that's when altcoins rallied. Okay, that was when altcoins rallied back then. So all we're going to do is just really closely watch this move by Bitcoin to see if in fact, is this just like a relief rally where we ultimately will trend back down? And if it is, how long will it stay here? Because if it can stay in this region, then it could lead to other coins making moves again, like Ethereum, right? I mean, maybe it would lead to Ethereum breaking its all-time high of around 1420 or so. So that's something to keep an eye on, because we know that when Bitcoin is bullish and not doing too much, then other coins can really start to move. And so far, the last few days, most of these coins were not really moving, and you can see why. I mean, Bitcoin was just basically heading down as quickly as it was going up. So now, though, we've started to see it go back up a little bit. If it gives the impression here that maybe it's not done, it doesn't even matter if 42K is not the top. Or whether it doesn't really matter if 42K is or is not the local top. If it just gives the impression that it might not be, then there's a good chance we could see some of these other coins start to move again. One thing to take a look at is the Bitcoin dominance, because we had been trending down. So we had a massive move down right here, back up, so right here, and back up to this point. And we were testing this for a little while, and then we blasted back through. So the question is, are we, in fact, going to head back up like that, similar to what the Ethereum chart looks like in and of itself, right? The W. Or is this kind of like a fake out by Bitcoin, and are we going to ultimately trend lower? So the dominance, if it were to go back to 73, 74, there's a good chance, at that point, there's a good chance that Bitcoin would be breaking its prior all-time high, because we know that the entire altcoin market as a whole has appreciated recently, right? The market capitalization of the entire asset class has appreciated. So if it were to go back up to 73% dominance, and you have things like Ethereum that are being dragged up with it, then it probably would break its prior all-time high. Now, in terms of getting an altcoin season, which you could argue we've already been in an altcoin season for a while, with coins like DOT going from $3 up to $11, in a fairly short period of time. ADA's over 30 cents, Link's back to $16. And there's been a lot of coins that have been putting in massive gains over the last few weeks. But the question now is, well, can we get to a finale of altcoin season? Like, will we see a major altcoin move in terms of, the asset class as a whole, where we'll see the dominance come back down? Or is Bitcoin simply just going to say, you know what, I'm the king of the party, and we're going to be going back up? Now, I don't know. I mean, 42K is back up here. So we're a long ways off from that. I mean, no, we're not that far, but from the current price, it's about a 13% move. So I don't think there's any clear indication yet that we're going to break through 42K, but of course we know it's possible. And if it does happen, right, if Bitcoin moves back up, then we would actually expect most altcoins to continue to bleed against Bitcoin. I know we've been saying that for a long time, but if this moves back up to 42K, then most likely these other coins will bleed against Bitcoin, but they'll probably be doing okay in their USD valuations. So now ultimately the question, right, and I don't know the answer to it, is exactly what will Bitcoin do next? One of the things that obviously a lot of people were talking about, which I don't really talk about that frequently, traditional types of technical analysis, of course, the idea of head and shoulders, which I really don't talk about on this channel. One of the reasons I don't talk about them is exactly because of moves like this. I mean, they work out sometimes, and we always point to the few times that they do work out to validate that they're useful, but there's plenty of times where they don't necessarily work out, and you can see that, I mean, so far this is one of those times, and if it's not, if this ends up coming back up and then coming back down, then we'll still just say, oh, well, or people say, all right, head and shoulders. It's just something to consider. This is why I don't really talk about traditional TA, because I just think that there's so many scenarios where you can see the pattern and it doesn't play out, and every YouTuber freaking out about a head and shoulders we'll just move on to whatever the next pattern that someone talks about. So I don't really like to follow that type of stuff. And more importantly, you could argue that maybe they are right. Maybe it is a head and shoulders, right? And this is the head, but they just forgot that he has his hand raised, right? Maybe that's what's going on. So you really never know with these patterns how useful they really are. And this is a great point to show you that everyone was drawing the head and shoulders, and we've come back above that point right there. So anyways, just to give you a little bit of perspective on why I don't typically follow the patterns. Let's see where Ethereum is. So Ethereum's at 1121. Let's take a look at Ether Bitcoin. It's currently at 0.0301. So it's still flirting. It's still flirting with the bottom of the trend line. So as we've said before, let's go back and look at our monthly candles for Ethereum. I still have, most of my Ethereum, so this is the main one that I'm watching right now, because I would like to see it come back to the top of the channel here. If we look at the moving averages, let's just put them back on here. So we got the 20-month. And let's make it blue. Alright, so again, nice support at the 20-month. And we said that there's a good chance we will get support there. And now the question on everyone's minds, as we go to sleep at night, we wonder, will it make it to the 50-month, right? Who doesn't fall asleep every night thinking about that? Will Ethereum make it to the 50-month moving average? Because if it does, if it can make it, then we would essentially be looking at let me pull this up really quick. We're gonna do a little bit of back of the envelope math here. So let's see, the current price of Bitcoin is 37.3. Ether Bitcoin to get to the 50-month would put it at 0.0415. So 0.0415 times 37.3. We know it's not going to be invariant, but would put it at 1547, which in fact would get Ethereum to a new all-time high. And I speculated a while back that, Bitcoin, it's almost like a domino effect, right? If you think about it, like Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high and mostly left everything in the dust. And if you remember, Ethereum was like $700 even in January. I know it seems like it was so long ago that Ethereum was $700, but in January, Ethereum was at $700. And now it's at 1122, about 10 days later or so. So the question now is, well, once Bitcoin got to its prior all-time high, it went into price discovery. Okay, it went into this massive price discovery mode where it then went up to, 2x its prior all-time high, for over 2x, 42k. 42 is the answer to everything. We already knew that. It was written in the book for a long time ago, and here we are, 42. So the question, right, is Ethereum for me is more or less my altcoin index. Okay, if you're holding a lot of altcoins and Ethereum is just consistently outperforming those altcoins, and those altcoins never have moves against Ethereum, but they just bleed constantly against it, then you have to wonder, okay, well, why do you hold these altcoins? But then on the other hand, Ethereum getting to its prior all-time high could be symbolic for the altcoin market, right? Just like Bitcoin getting to its prior all-time high is one of the things we wait for before other coins will start to make significant moves. Like Litecoin is one of those coins. I do own a little bit of Litecoin, not a lot, but it's one of those coins that starts to move once Bitcoin gets to its prior all-time high. And we don't really have any data on this, so all of this is just pure speculation, of course. But what will happen? If Ethereum gets to its prior all-time high of 1420, would it then go into price discovery mode? And would it might provide more confidence to the rest of the altcoin market? So I do think there could be some symbolism in terms of Ethereum getting to its prior all-time high, but at this point, it will significantly depend on what Bitcoin does here, because as we've said before, if Bitcoin volatility is high, Ether's not going to move. But we've experienced many days over the last several weeks where once Bitcoin starts to calm down, then Ethereum starts to move. Bitcoin volatility today is very high, right? It's moved up, from 34.3. It's moved up around $3,000 in the last several hours. So the chance that Ethereum breaks $1,400 today is pretty low, because the market is now eyeballing Bitcoin. Sorry, I'm just checking the chat. So yeah, the market is now watching Bitcoin because Bitcoin volatility is high. Everything depends on the market. Now, if we can chop sideways, like we've done a few times, right? We've chopped sideways up here. We've chopped sideways, a few other places where Ethereum started to make moves against Bitcoin. If we can do that, then that could help catalyze the Ethereum move to $1,400. And it's interesting how hard it is for Ethereum to get to $1,400, because Bitcoin is still at 37,000. Ethereum is still less than its prior all-time high. So I do think there will be some symbolism if Ethereum can reach it. By the way, for those people that think this is definitively proof that we'll go higher, we will of course contend that it's possible, but of course there's also what's known as the dead cat bounce, and it's always really hard to know when you're in it if it is one or not, right? Does it just kind of flake out at a value lower than the prior all-time high? Is that what happens, or is this just yet another correction that we ultimately recover from? So I still own the majority of my Bitcoin. Of course, I have taken some profits. I still own the majority of it. I'm happy to see it go higher, but at the same time, I wouldn't mind if it just cooled off for a while and let the altcoin market run, just because I do have positions in other cryptos and they have outperformed Bitcoin since March, and I would like to continue to see them outperform Bitcoin. But right now, it just makes you wonder, right? Is Bitcoin printing the W? Is that what it's doing? And it's just going to ultimately come back up to 73% or so. So we'll want to keep an eye on that. We will want to keep an eye on that to see exactly what it's doing. Now, one thing to keep an eye on is, as we've mentioned, is DXY. So it has come down a little bit from yesterday. At the high yesterday, it's down at 90.3. It reached around 90.4, 90.5 or so yesterday, I think. So it has come down a little bit. Well, maybe that was from 2 days ago, actually. Yesterday, it bled back down some. Today, it's going back up. Also, by the way, Dot is putting in work, okay? And it's putting in work here. And this is one of those coins that we said, right? We said it all along that this is likely our accumulation phase for Dot, right? Between $3 to $6. Dot accumulation, and that we'll likely look back at this and say, what a beautiful accumulation period for Dot. And then it had this breakout, and it broke out to around $10. It kind of went flat for a few weeks. It bottomed here at 720. I'm not selling any of my Dot at this point, right? I like to have one coin, at least one coin, that I just kind of let it run for a while. I've been buying it since like September between $3 and $6. I'm not buying it anymore, but I do hope it continues to go up because I'm not selling it either. I'm just staking it. So let's keep an eye on it because this is a pretty impressive move by Dot. And you can see that I'm sure it shook a lot of people out right here. But remember, there are benefits, especially these newer coins that we have, no theoretical ceilings on in terms of prior mental barrier. Like for Ethereum, the mental barrier that we have to break is around $1,400 because everyone remembers Ethereum at 1420. Basically, that was where the door got slammed shut on it. And ever since then, it has not reached that point, right? If you think about it in binary, it's either below its all-time high or above it. And if it's below, it's a 0. If it's above, it's 1. It's still been 0, right? I mean, at the end of the day, Ethereum has been doing great this year, and I'm sure a lot of us have made a ton of money on it. I know we have because we've been covering it since it was $200, $90 earlier this year. A lot of us are up 10x or more on Ethereum. But in terms of binary, if you're just saying, okay, well, that's great and all, has it beat its all-time high? Well, the answer is no. I mean, Bitcoin has, and obviously this is a reason why Bitcoin maximalists will point to this and say, yeah, Ethereum is maybe not the worst, but I mean, at the end of the day, Bitcoin is twice its prior all-time high. But I feel like they don't necessarily do Ethereum justice because just because it's not higher than its all-time high does not mean that you can't make a ton of money on it, right? You can make so much money on some of these coins, when they're basically in the pits of despair, because while their negative volatility is higher than Bitcoin, and we've seen it before, like negative 90%, negative 95%, while it's higher, they still reserve the right to do stuff like this, which is more impressive than what Bitcoin has done, right? As we've said before, if you take a measured move from the bottom of the wick, Ethereum right now is up around 1,150%. To the top, the local top, it's up around 1,400%. If you look at Bitcoin, let's go look at Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin here, and we take a measured move from the bottom in March, we're up about 1,000%. So of course, of course Bitcoin is higher than its prior all-time high. Doesn't mean you can't make a lot of money on coins like Ethereum as long as you're not, that guy coming in at the top. So we want to see Ethereum. I mean, at this point, right, we've already knocked down the $1,200 barrier. We've knocked down the $1,300 barrier. Those barriers, mentally they've been broken now in 2021. So I don't think they'll be as significant to break a second time. But really, we want to break 1400 and go up to 1500 and definitively say, that Ethereum is back. And maybe at that point, it'll go into price discovery mode, and the rest will be history. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see what Bitcoin does, because as I said, as long as Bitcoin volatility stays high, on days where Bitcoin volatility is high, Ethereum will not be. So one of the things to consider, and I'm just going to throw this out there as very speculative, I believe it was the last 2 weekends when Ethereum rallied. Can anyone back me up on that? And we want to look at it against Bitcoin. So let's take a look. So let me check here. So we want to check on the 2nd and the 9th. By the way, if you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 100,000 subscribers and give the video a thumbs up. Give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content. So let's go check. When did Ethereum start moving? Okay, that's what we want to know. When did it start moving? Because I feel like it started moving on the weekends. So the 2nd and the 9th. Okay, so here's the 9th. This was the weekend. This was Saturday. I mean, at least this was Saturday. Major move against Bitcoin. Okay, so if we take a measured move from the bottom to the top, Ethereum moved 14.5% against Bitcoin on Saturday, January 9th. And then if we go to the prior weekend, so this weekend was the 9th and 10th. This one was the 2nd and 3rd. So if we go to the other weekend and go from the bottom to the top, it went up 28%, and then it even rallied into Monday as well, 48%. So it seems like the primary moves for Ethereum recently against Bitcoin, and obviously 2 data points is not necessarily close to being enough to saying that it will definitively happen, but today's Wednesday. We have 3 days until Saturday. I mean, it could just be that Ethereum will start moving on the weekend or something, and that presumes that Bitcoin volatility will calm down by that point, which it might not, right? It might not. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that. Let's switch this back over to the hourly time frame. So yeah, we'll want to keep an eye on what Bitcoin does here. Because if volatility for Bitcoin can cool off at 37K, and we get a couple days of it being boring, then maybe that would catalyze another Ethereum move. And I mean, I gotta tell you guys, I own a lot. I still own most of my Ethereum, so I'd be happy to see this thing go up. Remember, don't forget about the downside risk. We don't always want to pretend like it's all, there's no free lunch. As we said before, I mean, here's the regression band, but let's put on the support band. This is our Ethereum bull market support band. If we drop to it, it would be between 563 and 632 today. But we know these are moving up. So if you believe we're in a bull market and you believe that this will hold throughout the entirety of the bull market, then you always have to be ready at least for that downside risk. Okay? So the potential reward that might come from, say, a $1,500 Ether or a $2,000 Ether, if we experience that in the coming weeks, or a $2,500 Ether, if we experience that in the coming weeks, you paid for that theoretical ROI with that risk there of the idea of being in a bull market. So you would have paid for it by recognizing that, and we are paying for it, right? I mean, if I have the majority of my Ethereum and we recognize that even in a bull market, that might be the downside risk, which is basically losing 50% or more, then you're paying for a return. If it does go up to, say, 2,000 or 2,500, you paid for that with the risk. So again, don't let anyone tell you, if it does continue to go up to, say, $2,000, $2,500 over the next few weeks, if it does do that, don't let anyone tell you you were lucky. It's not luck, right? It's not luck. You tell them, well, if they didn't pay for the risk if they didn't own Ethereum, so therefore they do not deserve the reward if it comes. Okay, it's as simple as that. Those who pay for the risk can be rewarded, but they also stand to lose if it goes down in the short term, back to where we would assume we would hold in the event we are in a multi-year bull market. Sorry, just checking out the chat. Hopefully everyone's enjoying it. Remember to subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. Let's go for 1,000 likes. I feel like we're at 91,000 subscribers, so let's get to 92,000 at the very least. And let's go take a look at, let's go back to DOT really quick and see what it's doing. So it's at 1120. This is a nice move here. I mean, look at these 4-hour candles for DOT. Look at this. These are back to back. Let's just measure candles. So 2%, 3.6%, 3.35%, 4%, another almost 4%, and so far up about 10%. And it looks like it went to 1169 a little bit ago within the last 4 hours. So this one is certainly getting heated as we speak. Look at this nice move, all the way down from 719. Not that 2 days ago. 2 days ago. So it's up in 2 days. It's up 54%. Not a bad turnaround for DOT. And one of the great things about it too is it's anytime it does something like this, it's putting in new all-time highs, right? Because it doesn't have that history of these mental price barriers that it has to break. So every time it's pushing up, it's completely in price discovery. Completely in price discovery at this point. So we're certainly going to follow DOT. The main reason we don't, the reason we only have maybe like 2 or 3 videos on the channel that are only dedicated to DOT is simply because we just don't have a lot of data. It's just simply, that's the only reason. It's just we don't have a lot of data. So it's like, what are we going to talk about? Are we, was the idea that we were just going to look at the accumulation range and tell everyone it's going to be okay? Well, there's no point, right? Just accumulate and be quiet about it, and hopefully we'll see this, and we have. So now we'll just see where it ends up taking us. So let's go back and look. Ethereum's still at 1123. Are we below 0.03? No, we're still at 0.03. Let's switch this back over to the weekly time frame. Okay, we'll move these. I'm just checking some of the other coins here. So ADA is at 31 cents. So ADA's doing okay here. But again, what do we want to see? Do we get out of bed for a 31 cent ADA? At this point, probably not. If you think about it, last cycle, there was a phase where ADA went from like 2 cents to 13 cents in like a few days, and then it went like 13 to 39 cents, and then it just kept going up. Clearly, it's somewhat stabilized at around 31 cents or so for the last week or so, which can feel like eternity in crypto. Link, of course, is back around 16 bucks, but we still haven't seen a major breakout by Link. And one of the things we'll do again is let's just measure the time we've historically seen between peaks, okay? And you might notice that once Bitcoin was starting to not perform so well, all of a sudden Link was actually starting to make moves, but now it looks like it's been put on hold since Bitcoin has started moving again. But if you look at, again, the percent difference between the tops and the time between them, it's about 200% over 539 days, get about 350% over 416 days. So it looks like, from the peaks, it's moving up, like peak to peak, percent to percent, 210 from this peak to this peak, and then this peak to this peak was 350 over a shorter amount of time, about 4 months, smaller amount of time. So if we were to put something in like that again, if we were to go up 344% over another 416 days, which of course that's not what we would do. most likely. But if we did, then that would put us at around an $80 link by October. If instead it was shorter, which the last one was shorter than the one before that, if it was shorter and it went up by an even higher percentage, maybe it would get us to a $100 link by the late summer. And remember, it was in August. This was August of 2020 when Link had that major move, and this was July of 2019. This one was January, so we had July and then August. So maybe Link really gets moving more so in the summertime. Of course, this move here was in the dead of winter, but that was when the entire asset class was going crazy. So this peak here was in, this one was in June. It was July 1st. I guess right on the border, the end of June, early July. This one was mid-August. Right now we're in January. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I certainly do have high hopes for Link this market cycle, despite the fact that it hasn't moved as significantly recently. But again, there's some recency bias in there because as measured from the bottom, which is what we've been doing for all coins to be somewhat fair, it's still up over 1,000%. Okay, which beats, which is better than what Bitcoin is from its bottom. Is that fair to Bitcoin? Not really, because Bitcoin just didn't capitulate as much as the altcoins did. So, why do we punish Bitcoin for not capitulating quite as hard? The point is just say, you could have bought these coins for these prices back then, and you would be up 1,100% on Link today. And now we're currently sitting at a $16 Link. I certainly have high hopes for it going to $100 at some point this market cycle. Again, it's not financial advice, and it might not happen, but hopefully we will see it transpire at some point during this cycle. If we take a look back at DOT, it's at 1128. Ether Bitcoin is still at around 0.03, so Ether's trying to hang on to the 0.03 valuation against Bitcoin. Remember, the Q1 move of Ether against Bitcoin is not always just monotonically up. It can go up and then come back down. If we go back and look at say, 2016, we had some candles up, and then it sometimes came back down. The same thing over here. We came up in January, and then we cooled off for a few weeks, and then in February, Ethereum got going again. So it's just simply, it's something to consider. So with that said, again, if you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. Also, we have the Telegram channel, which you guys can find a link to in the description below. We will link the Telegram chat so you guys can join it if you're looking for a chat room during these crazy times. Oh, and then the other thing is make sure to check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Someone said, why is Ethereum so weak? Other alts are performing better. I mean, I think other alts will perform better, and a lot of the reason I hold other alts like Link and ADA and DOT is because I want them to perform better. I don't expect, if I'm holding them, then it presumes that they would perform better than Ethereum, because if they can't perform better than Ethereum, why do we hold them? Because they have higher risk, more volatility. Why would you hold them if they can't perform better than Ethereum? So, I would want them to perform better than Ethereum. Let's take another look at the Bitcoin dominance. You can see, because we made a video on the dominance the other day, and we were speculating on whether it's going to break out to the downside or the upside. So far, it seems to be moving back up. So definitely keep an eye on that over the coming days to see if that continues. Which of course it will probably continue if Bitcoin continues moving up, $1,000 or so every couple hours. Yeah, if you're in the chat always asking about random coins, just know that it's a waste of time. We don't have time to go through all these random coins. someone says as a new trader or whatever it is, a good idea to put like $100 on all the top picks of various YouTubers. I don't think you should necessarily go with whatever the top picks of various YouTubers are. You also have to consider that a lot of YouTubers' picks are paid picks, meaning they were paid to pick them. So just keep that in mind. I've seen that happen a lot. I'm not saying all YouTubers do it, but you know a lot of them that do. So if you see someone shilling a micro cap coin you've never heard of, just consider there's a decent chance that they were paid to shill it. I mean, the thing about people making videos like with their with their paid top picks and whatnot in a bull market, everyone's happy because everyone's making money, right? And then the minute things change, then no, it's like why are they not talking about that coin anymore? So I don't know. The main five I follow are Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT. We do sometimes talk about other coins. Litecoin is one of the ones we talk about sometimes. We've talked about VeChain. We've talked a little bit about Stellar. We have talked about XRP, but ever since the lawsuit, I haven't been following it quite as much because of the effects there, and because I'm based in the U.S. I need the confidence to be able to sell it, and if I don't have that, then it's hard to continue to buy it. So mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, ADA, and DOT, and then there's a few other ones we cover from time to time. We've covered the Uniswap governance token as well, and a few others. I don't, Jerome, I don't know if we can say Bitcoin's home free here. I mean, again, you never really know when you're in it, right? I mean, it's in the same way that it could just come up here and put in a new high. If it doesn't and it comes back down, then everyone will just point back and say it was a dead cat bounce. So we have to be careful in terms of drawing too many conclusions. You know, we just have to see where it goes, right? How do I think ADA and DOT will perform against Ethereum over this cycle? Well, the main thing I'm looking for with ADA is I'd be interested to see if it comes back up to this peak, right? So we've had, since May, we've had these three major peaks of ADA against Ether. The trend has generally been down during the bear market, but this is ADA's first full-fledged bull market. So what we want to do is we just want to keep an open mind, and if it does trend back up to this point up here, then we'll just want to note that it doesn't necessarily mean that it can't go higher, because it has gone higher before. But if it does get back up here, you might want to note that we had a peak at that same level here, here, and here. That would be the ADA Ether valuation. Let's go check out Ethereum. So Ethereum's at 1133. The Ether Bitcoin valuation is still around 0.03. It hasn't really changed. Bitcoin is pushing back up to 37,590. So let's switch this over to a 1 minute chart so we can see what's going on. So we'll certainly want to keep an eye on this. Someone said Ben comes on during the pump ends classic. Actually, I came on at 37K, and now it's at 37.5. So I don't think it's necessarily ended yet, but maybe it'll end in a few minutes. Alright, no, there's no point in asking me about all these random coins. We're not going to cover them. We just simply don't have time to look at 100 different coins. Cody says he always has a quick short when he gets the live notification. Yeah, we can look at Link Bitcoin. So this is what we're looking at with Link Bitcoin. You know, it's been a pretty bad 6 months for Link against Bitcoin. An amazing move before that. We always said we don't know how it will behave in a bull market because we just simply had not seen it yet. So far, it is dumped against Bitcoin, so it was not able to hold on to the Link Bitcoin valuation trend it was on when Bitcoin was in a bear market and the accumulation phase. Now that Bitcoin has been in a bull market, you can see that the Link Bitcoin valuation has dumped significantly. But one of the things we've also said is, you know, if you look at this on a linear scale, I mean, maybe you could look at it like a textbook bubble type thing against Bitcoin, not against USD, where it, you know, it's more or less on this path. And it goes up into this bubble, right? And you get like a new paradigm shift up here, and then it ultimately comes crashing down. Maybe this here was the dead cat bounce back up to 0.0015 from peak of 0.0017, and now we're in the despair phase. Maybe this is the despair phase. So if the rest of the bubble were to play out like a textbook bubble, then maybe eventually it would imply it's getting back on track. But again, there's really no telling how long that will be. And remember, the last peak of Link Bitcoin was in August, and we had another major one in June. So this was, when you look at it on a log scale, those were the two major ones. So maybe the next one will be this summer as well. Maybe earlier summer, maybe like, well, maybe in the spring, maybe like May or something. Yeah, we did a video recently. We put out a video yesterday, I believe. We put out like 5 videos yesterday. But one was on the 20-day, and it looks like we did bounce off of it. Right? We talked about, you know, the 20-day is the first. It's like the first line of support, or the first line of defense in a bull market. That's like the clear and obvious first line of defense when you get a dump. And we said that back over here when we dumped. And we held it here on daily candles anyways. But the thing is the reason why it's not the most important thing in the world is because if it breaks, it doesn't mean that it has to dump. It just means it's not getting that immediate bounce, right? That immediate bounce. Because when it holds, it tends to get an immediate bounce. And here's another example of it getting an immediate bounce when holding the 20-day moving average. So going below it doesn't necessarily implicate that it has to dump. But holding the 20-day, as we said in a video yesterday, it can lead to an immediate bounce of the Bitcoin valuation. So it looks like we're seeing that so far. The question is, you know, how high will this bounce take us? Will it take us higher than the prior all-time high, or is it a dead cat bounce, and we're ultimately going to come back down to the 20-day, test it again, and then maybe go below? So that's the question that we want to keep an eye on, because we've seen this many times where it bounces off the 20-day, and it wasn't just here. We followed it before. There's been other times where it bounces. Here was a nice bounce off the 20-day back up. Here was a nice bounce off the 20-day back up. If we take a look at the candles, you know, this one moved back up about 15-16%. At least, or let's measure it from the 20-day. This one moved up about 10%. This one from the 20-day moved up about 15%. And this one from the 20-day so far is up about 14%. To the top, it's up about 15%. So we said in a video yesterday that you could see a 10 to 15% bounce if it's able to hold the 20-day in the short term. So it looks like we've seen that. Now the question is there enough gas to get it back to 42K so that it can go back into price discovery mode, or are we ultimately going to trend sideways or go back down? And if we can go sideways for a little bit, then it could usher in altcoin season, and maybe the Ether Bitcoin valuation can start getting back to work. And maybe that'll happen again this weekend. As we said, that the two major moves of Ether against Bitcoin recently started on either Saturday or Sunday. So just something to keep in mind. Doesn't mean you should take that to the bank. It's not financial advice. 2 data points certainly does not mean we can definitively say one way or another. But just keep an eye on it, because if Bitcoin is able to somehow calm down at around these levels, then maybe we'll start to see Ether Bitcoin trend back up as well. And clearly, we don't want to keep hugging this line. We actually want to put in real work and go to the top of it. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. It looks like we are currently at 91,000, or no, we're at 92,000 subscribers. So let's go for 93,000 subscribers. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and give the video a thumbs up. And then also remember, we do have the Telegram channel, which I will post in the chat. I'll post it in the chat. And then the premium list, which I will post in the chat as well. No, I did not buy the dip. The market is too extended for me, my friends. I'm happy to see it continue to go up because I still own the majority of my crypto. But no, I'm not buying these dips, because it sounds good and all, right? If you have some chips, you can buy the dip or scoop the dip up, right? If you have the chips to do it. But one day it's going to dip, and it's not going to be a dip. it's going to be a much larger dip than the one we're thinking. So no, I'm not buying these dips at this point. But there's nothing wrong with necessarily doing it. As I've said, if you don't own any Bitcoin, or you just want to accumulate more, it's too risky not to own Bitcoin over the long haul. I would not buy at these levels, but that doesn't mean I don't want it to go up. Link still at $16. Let's see where DOT is. Still at $11. And ADA is at 31. So ADA is moving a little bit here, because now it's at 31.5. If we go look at coin market cap, we can see it's like Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, DOT, Litecoin. So ADA is back below Litecoin just barely. They're basically flirting with each other. This one's at 9.786 billion, and this one's 9.782 billion. It's not a huge difference by any means. Chainlink still bringing up the rear at this point at 6.5 billion. So if we see this Link move continue, where it's moving up quicker than Stellar, much longer, then maybe we'll see Link flip Stellar. But it has a ways to go to flip BCH, because BCH had a pretty good move recently. So we'll keep an eye on this stuff. Might not take long before we start to see some of these flip XRP. That'll be pretty significant. It looks like Ether Bitcoin is trending up slightly right now, because now it's at 0.0303. My bear here. I mean, I would say I'm generally a Bitcoin bull, and I want to see the prices go up, because I do still own the majority of my Bitcoin position. However, I would not add to my position here. So that's kind of where I am. I would not add to my position at this point. I'm happy to see things go up, but I personally, not financial advice, I personally would not add at at 37K. I would also not add it at 34K either. And of course, you know, if it never goes below 30K again, then in hindsight we could say, okay, well, it would have been good to buy the dip. But for me, it's not worth the risk. Like I'd rather not take that chance. So I definitely am a Bitcoin bull over the macro scale, but buying it right now is not something I want to do. But I still own the majority of my Bitcoin. All right, what other questions do we have? Let's see where Dot is. There's Dot. Still at 11 bucks. It's funny how quickly we can become impatient. We'll see what it's doing over the hours. Okay, so it moves up a few candles and then consolidates for a bit. It peaked at 1169. Currently it's at 1106, so Antonio's like, not a risk taker, huh? I mean, you could argue that I am. I mean, I purchased most of the Bitcoin below 10K. I mean, for me that was a risk. I'm probably more risk averse than most in the crypto space. I will give you that. Someone says, Ben, thoughts on investing $100 in 5 altcoins that are low right now and hope one pumps 1,000%. I mean, well, if the idea is if you put $100 and you're saying 1,000%, which I'm assuming you think means 10x, but 1,000% is 11x. Let's suppose you mean 10x. If you had a position in 5 coins and you put $100 into those 5 coins, and 4 of them went to 0, and 1 of them went up 10x. Then essentially, if you split the $500 across 5 coins, so $100 in each coin, then that one coin would have gone up, 10x, so it would have gone to $1,000. So you would have effectively turned $500 into $1,000. I mean, there's other things you can do as well. I mean, right? You can just put it in Ethereum or Bitcoin for that matter. And if either of them ever go up 2x, then you're seeing the same type of return that you would if you put it in 4 or 5 micro caps and 4 of them went to 0 and 1 of them did well. Bitcoin's back to 37.1 right now. Yeah, we looked at the DXY earlier. It's a 90.3. Is the dominance falling here? It's possible that it does. It just depends on. It ultimately depends on if Bitcoin consolidates here, then the dominance could fall. The dominance could fall back down as altcoins gain momentum. Yeah, I know ADA passed Litecoin on CoinMarketCap earlier, but right now it's back down below it. It's kind of funny because you can see that ADA has a higher market cap than Litecoin, but right now it's listed as below it. This is 9.779, 9.776. So I guess it's just not updated immediately because this one is slightly higher. Like ADA is slightly higher than Litecoin, but they're listed in the reverse order. Now let's keep an eye on the Bitcoin dominance, because if this just turns out to be a wick, that would be interesting. Yeah, I clicked refresh. I mean, I just clicked refresh again, and you can see that ADA is still below Litecoin. All right, 9, spamming the same comment. ADA's still doing pretty well, at 31. We'll probably wrap it up soon, since we're not moving much. I mean, we're at 33 or 37. Let's go to the 1 hour. So it has come back down a little bit here. Peaked at 37.8, back down to 37. All right, bye crypto OG. Adios. What is the point of Litecoin? I mean, it's definitely marketed as you know, silver to Bitcoin gold, or to Bitcoin being gold, but I don't know. I don't really buy it. I mean, it pumps when the market pumps, but I feel like the opportunity cost of having too much in Litecoin is too high. My background. Someone says they're interested in my background. Do I believe in degenerates and alternators? Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of altcoins that are just that just trend down against Bitcoin. I mean, it's not really a belief; it's just that's what it is. There's certain coins that just trend down against Bitcoin over time, and some of them do not. What car do I drive? Believe it or not, I drive a 2007 car. So it's not a flashy Tesla or anything like that. Someone says, do I give credence to short-term market movements like bull flags and head and shoulders patterns? Yeah, I mean, no, I don't. I mean, I give credence to things like momentum, but not so much head and shoulders, right? As we said earlier, every YouTuber known to man was talking about a head and shoulders here. But again, we don't typically talk about traditional TA, because I've seen this type of stuff before, where they say head and shoulders, knees and toes, and you know, it just doesn't always work out, right? I mean, here's a prime example of everyone saying head and shoulders, and it just simply did not play out like that, because now it's continued back up. So there's so many examples of these traditional TA stuff that it just simply does not work out. And this is a great example. And we were joking earlier that maybe it is a head and shoulders, like everyone claims, but that they just forgot that he has his hand raised. So maybe that's what's going on. But I mean, in all truth, I mean, like in all seriousness, this is a good example of it not playing out like people think according to traditional TA. How many languages do I know? Well, I'm going to assume that you're talking about computer languages um, and not like foreign languages. I know you're not, but actually there was a funny joke about that one time. I was doing an internship and someone was like, "So what languages do you know?" They asked like one of the interns, and they started with like they're like, "Oh, Python, C++." But that was actually what the person was asking about, and it was funny because it's like, if you'd asked that in a normal setting, they would not assume you're talking about computer programming. They would assume you're talking about like verbal. Should bull market be until December? Um, I mean, I don't think we're going to necessarily see Bitcoin move up this fast until December because to give you an idea, if it did, I don't think it will. But if it did move up this quickly until December, I mean, we'd be talking about millions of dollars, right? I mean, it's just, that's not going to happen. Um, so I don't know exactly. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be pullbacks along the way. I think it'll go past December, but I think there will be pullbacks along the way. See what DOT's doing here. It's back below $11 slightly. Do I have any idea why the US dollar has grown in strength since January 4th when they announced unprecedented printing? Well, we actually made videos on this, and I specifically said, hopefully some people can back me up in the comments. I mean, I specifically said that, everyone thinks the dollar is going to go down because of the printing, but markets price things in before they necessarily happen. So just because that's the news, like essentially you can count on once the news has made it to you, the market has already priced it in. That's how I operate. So that's why we said back then that there's a good chance that the dollar could bounce here, right? I mean, it's either, I mean, we drew out a few different possibilities, but we said here that this was the line where we ultimately bounced in January and February of 2018, and we said, okay, there's a decent chance that the dollar puts up a fight here. Despite what's going on in the world, there's a decent chance it puts up a fight. And so far it has put up a fight. It doesn't mean that it won't ultimately trend lower, but so far it is putting up a fight. Remember to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up if you guys like the content. We're at 92,000 subscribers, going for 93,000. Yeah, we are 12 minutes from close. There can sometimes be volatility around closing time. Let's go look at the 5-minute time frame and see what's going on. So we're coming in at close in a little bit. Right here. That's our close, our daily close. Coming in hot. Yeah, I mean, I get the let's see. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking profits and putting them into lower risk things. again, as we said before, crypto is a personal journey, right? I mean, if you can hop on the train when you want to, you can hop off when you want to, and put it into lower risk things, and you can feel good about it, right? I mean, if you go up 10x and you want to take some profits, doesn't mean you necessarily need to take everything off the table, but if you do, and crypto keeps going up, yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, there's something always going. The markets everywhere are at various times going up. There's always other trades to be made, right? There's always other ways you can reduce risk and trades you can make. It's a personal journey, and hopping off the train every once in a while to secure the profits and putting into something more stable, to me, is not a bad thing. To me, that's not a bad thing. Someone says we need 1 second TA. All right, we can do that. We'll go to the anxiety chart. Actually, let's switch this over to... Okay, we'll look at... This is our 1 second chart. Our anxiety chart. See, Vibe, RTV, like, I feel like this is some of the worst advice that you'll see. Like, listen, everybody, don't take profits. Don't worry, it goes up and down. That's all life is. So just enjoy the ride and don't worry. When we get to $250,000 goal, then you take out your profits, brother. What if we peak at $240,000? Like, do you just set this blind price target because someone said that this is going to $250,000? It just seems like it could work out, but it's not a really good way to manage your risk in that scenario, because you're basically saying, oh, I've picked this random number and it has to go to that. It's like the same people that picked 25K last cycle. It never made it there, and then they watched it dump 85%. This is terrible. This is terrible advice, I think. Everyone can have their own, where they want to be and where they want to exit. They don't need to necessarily wait for the identical top, because no one's actually going to be able to predict exactly where it happens. Can we go back to the 1 minute chart? I don't know. We're on the 1 second chart now. I mean, this is we have 8 more minutes of anxiety before the daily close. I'll tell you this. I mean, like, you won't go broke taking profits, right? You won't go broke. Yes, you won't necessarily time the top, but the people that are not taking profits, they just assume they can time the top, and they'll measure their gains based on wherever the bottom was to wherever the theoretical top is later on. But most people don't sell the top, and the people that are not regularly taking profits throughout the cycle will almost assuredly not time the top, because they're never selling, right? I mean, again, I still own the majority of my Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean that I don't take profits from time to time, and then I put them into other assets that then can appreciate themselves. So you have to consider there's just ways of reducing risk. It doesn't mean that we think that Bitcoin won't keep going up. It just means that the risk is getting very overheated, and it might be time to at least skim some profits off the top and put it into something else that hasn't gone up 5x or 4 or 5x in 4 months. So we're coming in here 7 more minutes until the daily close. 73, or we're at 37.3. Alright, we're coming in on the daily close again in 7 minutes. Let's check the charts. DOT is back above $11. ADA is at 31.3 cents. Links just under 16 bucks. And Ether is 11.30. So the Ether Bitcoin valuation is at 0.0302 as Bitcoin continues to climb back up here. No, I didn't sell the majority of my Bitcoin. I don't know what, I've never said that. Do we have 1 nanosecond chart? No, I don't think we have that one. What lines are there to draw? It's a 1 second chart, right? There's nothing we can really draw here. We got our clear support line here. Right, this is our reaccumulation window. The depths of despair, capitulation. So I guess this is our smart money coming in at the 1 second chart. The reaccumulation phase of a lifetime. Here we are. The reaccumulation phase that lasted about 2 minutes. Oh, capitulation. Capitulation. Look at that sell-off. And look at where it bounced. Right at the top of what we said was our reaccumulation zone. I mean, if that's not TA, what is? Right on the top of it. We'll see what Ethereum does. Ethereum's still at 1130. You can see it over here, actually. DOT's still 11. Oh, going back into the accumulation zone on the 1 second chart. We have 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes until the daily close. So who took advantage of that opportunity? The reaccumulation phase of a lifetime right there. And back out. No, I mean, I still have the majority of it because I just set stops, and I go back a certain amount on the risk metric. I was doing 0.05, so no, some of them have not. I don't actually have any stops right now set, but if it keeps going up, I'll set them. Another bounce off the accumulation zone. This is our inverted head and shoulders pattern on the 1 second chart. So let's take another look. We have 2 more minutes. We'll wrap it up at the daily close. So we have 2 more minutes. Let's see. Ethereum's still at 1129. Link is at 1596. Yeah, so nothing's really changed. I mean, look at this. Look at this amazing TA right here. This guy's just got a weird hairdo going on. We're going to get going here in a second. One more minute. 1 more minute. Coming back up. Hopefully some people took advantage of the reaccumulation zone of a lifetime. Whoops. Down here at 37,230. All right, coming in on the daily close. Right here. That's the daily close right there. One second volatility. It's a new day. It's a new day. Let's switch it over. The daily time frame. Let's remove all that. All right, so here we are. We'll see what happens. I mean, I feel like this candle will be a pretty interesting candle to see if it continues the trend, or if it, if it's just kind of like a dead cat bounce or not. So we'll see where it goes. If you guys like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel. Give the video a thumbs up. Check out the Telegram channel in the description below. We have over 12,000 people in the Telegram chat, so you guys can check that out if you guys want to continue the party. And remember, we do have the premium lists at intothecryptoverse.com. Make sure you guys subscribe at the very least. Turn on your alerts. Give the video a thumbs up. Let's take one last look. Bitcoin's at 37.5. Ethereum's at 11.32. Link's at 16 bucks. ADA's at 31 cents. And DOT is just over $11. Ether Bitcoin is trying to hold on here. So hopefully it can hold on, and maybe it'll have another run this coming weekend, like it has the last 2 weekends, and maybe we'll push back up. So make sure you guys tune in for the videos in the coming days. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe. Oh, here we go. 37.6. Are we moving back up? Right after the close. So yeah, right after the close, it's moving up. I kind of want to see if it pushes past 37.8. See, Bitcoin started pumping because it thought I was going off stream, but I faked it out. I'm still on stream. Yeah, I know, it's going up right when we said we're gonna end the stream. What's Ethereum doing? Ethereum's moving too. 1140. It's a new day. It's a new day. We said volatility can come around close, and here it is. I don't know what we're doing looking at a 1 hour chart. Let's look at a minute chart. Look, this was closed. Started moving up quickly after this. It's moving up really quickly. Now we're at 37.8. So we just put in almost to the local top over here. If we get past 37.850, we'll be higher than that wick or so. I should pretend to sign off more frequently. All right, we're really moving now. 37.9. 37.9. So on the minute candles, we're moving up 0.34%, 0.43%, 0.18%. It's going off the chart. 0.45%. We're almost at 38K. Ethereum's moving too. Let's see. Yeah, Ethereum Bitcoin is trying to keep up here. It's still at 0.0301, but at least Ethereum's not getting left behind at least. What are we doing looking at a minute chart? Let's look at the anxiety 1 second chart. Do you guys remember the accumulation phase of a lifetime over here that we drew? Where was it? It was like over here somewhere. Yeah, we just had a wick up to 37,998. Another wick back up. That wick took us to 38K. So we just hit 38. Ethereum's moving to 1143. Some coins aren't really, I mean, ADA is still around 31 cents. Someone said blow off top. Oh, do we have a double top on the 1 second chart? Maybe the third or fourth test of 38 will blast through. Sometimes it just takes that third or fourth test. Here's our third test. Fourth test made it through. Or, yeah, the third test made it through. And back down. Someone said they FOMO'd the top. Someone says, look at those healthy corrections. They're like stepping stones. Where's our next stepping stone? Maybe it's here? Is this our next stepping stone? Maybe not. Maybe this one is. That was it. It's moving up quickly. The dollar's not really moving much right now. It's still at 90.3. So we're at around 38.1. We'll see where Ether is. Ether's at 11.46. So again, it's keeping up at least. It is slightly lagging Bitcoin because the Ether Bitcoin valuation is very slightly dropping. So it's not keeping up with Bitcoin, which is kind of expected, right? It's kind of expected that when Bitcoin volatility is high, it will not keep up. Let's look at the Bitcoin dominance. The Bitcoin dominance has continued to extend, so I don't know, you guys think it's coming back up? Ooh. The anxiety chart strikes back. This is ridiculous looking at the 1 second chart. Alright, we gotta get going here in a minute. It will be interesting to see, though, if, you know, if we go back to the daily chart. Obviously, the question is it a dead cat bounce, or are we ultimately going to trend higher? From the peak, we're still down about 9% from the peak. We're still down about 9%. Yeah. Someone said look at the weekly candle. That is a pretty interesting weekly candle. I'll tell you, yeah. It's almost back to being green. We're gonna go green here. Some of you are like in the stream. Alright guys, I'm ending the stream again. Last time I said that, Bitcoin skyrocketed. This is a minute chart. Alright, I think we're going to wrap it up here. If you guys like the content, subscribe to the channel. Let's go for 100,000 subscribers. Give the video a thumbs up. Remember, we do have the Telegram channel. You can find a link to that in the description below, or I'll also post it in the chat as well. And then there is the premium list. You guys want me to play the buy Bitcoin thing? Alright, I'll play it. It's my 4-year-old. I will warn you though, before I play this, if you have earphones in, or if you have someone sleeping near you, this will probably wake them up. So, fair warning.
Buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin. Bitcoin.
Not bad.
Buy Bitcoin.
Alright, there it was. That's my 4-year-old saying buy Bitcoin. Not financial advice. Alright, we gotta get going. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Make sure you subscribe.